How's everybody doing today? It's an awesome show. You guys are going to have a lot of fun here. I did have one second place that he didn't mention. I just came off of second place at Lake Shasta right before Amistad, so yeah, I've gotten a lot of second places lately. Hopefully this year I'll be able to capitalize on my opportunities. Anyway, I fished the Bassmaster Elite Tour, and I also fished the FLW Tour. This year, because the schedule was conflicting, I had to choose which tour to fish. And my strength is more of a patterning fish. I don't necessarily know the lakes well enough to go out and find the mother lode, so to say, the best areas to fish, but I can pattern fish pretty well. I can go to a lake for the first time and figure out what they're biting on and come with an A, B, and a C plan, and usually it works for me. You know, I usually try to find what I like to do when I go to a lake for the first time is I like to go and find a way to catch a limit. Once you can figure out how to catch 5 fish, and usually it's more of a finesse thing with small baits, spinning tackle, or something like that. Then I'll start kind of expanding on that and trying to figure out what I can get to do to get the bigger bite and catch bigger fish. One of my, I guess, known traits is I like to throw a swim bait. 7 tournaments on the Elite Tour next year. I plan on throwing a swim bait almost exclusively. And I think that's going to be a key for me this year. One of the cool things about the Bassmaster Elites, like I said, it is more of a patterning thing instead of fishing the FLW where guys are going to camp out for a month at a time at a lake and find the best areas. We're only allowed 3 days of practice. So we go to a lake for the first time, or now that it'll be my 3rd year going on tour, I've actually been to these lakes before. I can go out and search and kind of have a little bit of history on the lakes. But we only get 3 days of practice, and we have an off-limit period 30 days prior where we can't get information. And so, you know, without having guys constantly beating up the areas, you can kind of run and gun areas and stay on a pattern and find those fish. I got something for all the kids out here real quick. I just want to hand these out. They're Kuma hats. So Kuma Rods and Reels, one of my prime sponsors, as Kent Brown was saying. My boat will be wrapped in a Kuma logoed boat. So I give one to you. If you guys haven't checked it out, Okuma booth is over there. They're the rods and reels. They've come a long way in the last few years. I got 11 ball bearings on their bait cast reels that I use, and their spinning reels actually have a drag washer on the top of the spool and on the bottom of the spool, so you're going to have a super smooth drag, and that way you won't lose too many fish. Let's see here. Kids, here you go. Whoop. These hats are real small, so they're kind of for the kids. So, here you go, buddy. One more for you. Oh, sorry. You all right? Here you go. Okay. Another one of my sponsors is Maui Jim Sunglasses. Basically, they're polarized sunglasses. I prefer the glass lens versus the polycarbonate lenses only because I kind of bang them up a little bit and they get scratched. But these have scratch-free lenses, so they work pretty good. Maui Jims are sold just about everywhere you go, in the shopping malls and tackle shops, and they're gems to me. Basically, what a polarized glass will do is it'll cut off all the glare on the water. And a lot of times when I'm throwing a swim bait or a big bait, I see a lot of the fish that eat my bait. And it gives me time to delay or react on how the fish eats before I set the hook. That way I can get a better hook set. And at the same time, when I'm sight fishing or looking for, just basically structure, grass lines, or wherever I go, it cuts off the glare and you can see a whole lot better underwater. So definitely a good pair of polarized glasses I would recommend when you're out bass fishing. Maui Jims. This year on the Elites, one of my roommates, Mike Iaconelli, I'm sure you guys have all heard of him, he took Angler of the Year, and it was pretty nice because being able to room with him, I could kind of follow and see what it takes to be as well as do as well as he does. And one of the things that he really keys in on is spinning gear. He likes to do a lot of finesse fishing. He is probably the master at it. I mean, one of the best out there, and obviously it's proven. He took Angler of the Year this year, won a tournament, and by using spinning gear, you're gonna be able to fish behind guys that are using heavier tackle, and you're gonna pick up a lot of those fish that have already seen all the crankbaits, the spinner baits and the jigs and the big bulky baits, and you can catch those finesse fish. And he likes to number them to death. And another guy that I know that does that a lot is Aaron Martins. I'm sure you've all heard of him too. So I'm going to show you a couple little spinning rod techniques to help you catch more fish. What I got on here is a 1/4 ounce starter head. I got it on P-line fluorocarbon, 8 pound, and a little Reaction Innovation Sweet Beaver. This is the, it's called Bad Shad is the color. And this works anywhere where you got bait fish. If you ever see, you get into a back cove or something like that and you see some fish busting on bait, a little bait like this on a 1/4 ounce and just darting it through the bait, you'll catch a lot of those fish. It'll kind of mimic those dying bait that get attacked and flutter through the fish, and they'll end up eating it. So I'm gonna cast it out there, and just kind of, you can just kind of see it kind of hops along on the darter head. So anyway, I like to fish it on a slack line. I like to kind of shake that slack line, and then that way I can just kind of watch the line, and when it jumps, you know a fish has got it. Or sometimes it'll swim off to the side. Now the way I got it rigged up, it actually has an exposed hook. I took the hook and bent it down. So you're going to want to fish this somewhere like Lake Shasta or Orville, or a lake that's not full of grass where you're going to get snagged up all the time. If you're going to start fishing it on the Delta, you'd want to use a weedless approach. And Reaction Innovations has a jig head called a screwed up jig head, and it's got a little screw on it so you can screw the bait on, turn around, and hook the hook into the bait and keep it completely weedless. Anyway, jig heading like this, you can throw a worm, you can throw, like I like to throw a sweet beaver, you can throw all kinds of different baits. And this is an excellent way just to catch numbers of fish to help you kind of follow your C pattern. C pattern is the backup pattern just to get a limit in the boat. I'm going to grab another spinning rod technique. I'm sure most of you have heard of the drop shot. There's many ways to rig up the drop shot. If you notice with the drop shot, you're going to get a lot of line twists because the bait likes to spin in the water when you're reeling it in. There's ways to eliminate it. One thing that I like to do, which I didn't do here, but is I'll add a little tiny ball bearing swivel about a foot or two above the hook, and that way when the bait's twisting as you're reeling it up out of deep water, it'll just spin on the ball bearing and your line won't spin up. It's an excellent way to fish deep water. I just came off fishing the Delta yesterday in a tournament, and drop shotting unfortunately was a way we caught some fish. So that's like a C pattern. That's to catch limit fish. But yeah, when you're fishing shallow water, you don't necessarily need a swivel, especially in the grass, because it will clog up the swivel, so it really won't. It'll kind of defeat the purpose. And when you're fishing grass, what I have on here as a hook, it's a rebar hook that RoboWorm designed. It's a straight shank hook, but on the back of it, it's got a little piece of plastic. It's like shrink wrap that was heated up, and what it does is it holds your bait onto the hook really well, so it doesn't fall off, and that way you can turn around and hook it weedless. And then I usually like to just do like an 8 to 10 inch leader on my drop shot. And a little 1/4 ounce. This is just a little Bass Pro Shop XPS weight. I got it on P-line, 8 pound. It's CX, it's fluorocarbon coated line. It's got a little bit of stretch to it. When you're fishing shallow water like the Delta and you're going to be drop shotting, a true fluorocarbon, there isn't any stretch. So if you go light line, you set the hook real quick, you're going to snap the line. So by adding this fluorocarbon coated line, it's a polymer fluorocarbon coated, you're going to have that little bit of stretch you're going to need, so that way when you set the hook on a big fish, it won't break your line. But basically this catches those fish that are, let's put it this way, the Delta right now is the coldest I've ever seen it, and I grew up fishing the Delta. It is 43-degree water. And pop along those rocks right there. Those fish are so inactive, and I think these fish came from the Delta because they're kind of acting the same way. They're just kind of sitting on the bottom out there. They're not doing anything, so you just got to leave your bait in one spot for a long time and just kind of slightly shake the line. And just make that worm kind of jiggle around down there. That's the line twist I was telling you about. I didn't re-spool it before I came to the seminar, so let me just pull that off a little bit. But spinning gear is awesome because you can really cast underneath boat docks real nicely with it. And that's where you're going to want to fish this time of the year on the Delta, just to catch numbers of fish on that C plan. Now, if you want to step it up and go with a or B plan, you're going to want to start fishing jigs. As soon as this water starts warming up, and the real cool thing is we're coming back in March for the Bassmaster Elites, the jig bite is going to be phenomenal. And I've caught more 7 to 8 pound bass on the Delta on a jig than any other bait. And usually February and March is the time to do it. There's really 2 different types of jigs out there. There's a casting jig, and then there's a flipping jig. I'm going to show you the flipping jig since I'm kind of talking about the Delta right now. The way I like to fish a flipping jig, I prefer a light jig. I like to kind of swim it through the reeds. It just to me it feels better. So what I got is a little 1/4 ounce jig. The crawfish this time of the year have a little bit of orange to them, so I like to add little orange pinchers. I fish it on 50 pound Power Pro braided line. Most of the fish that hit a jig are not line shy. And at the same time, since you're fishing it back into the reeds, you're going to need something that's durable, and you can really cut through the grass when you hook a big fish with braided line. So 50 pound Power Pro, it's a real smooth casting line, and it just works excellent. So you can just kind of see how this one flutters down there. This is an excellent jig. Kind of have to wait till the water comes up to about 52, 53 degree water to really get on a strong jig bite on the Delta. These fish are pretty dormant at this time of the year. Just kind of pop it along the bottom, snap it up. This is also a visual thing. If you are flipping in the grass or you're flipping in the reeds with a jig, always pay attention to the reeds, because if you start seeing some shaking in the reeds, get ready and hold on, because that fish is probably coming towards your bait and it's going to snap on it. And you pretty much have a 100% hookup ratio with the jig and Power Pro line. There's just absolutely no stretch whatsoever. So this is a pepper jig. They're sold at most of your tackle shops. And on the back I got a Persuader craw. It's got a nice 4/0 Gamakatsu hook on it. Whoops. You'll notice I have these little reel grips on here. This is kind of a funny thing. I was at a Bass Pro Shops and I saw these little things. And I'm like, what's that all about? You know, it's kind of strange, funky looking. Well, I bought a pair. I actually bought a pair for my fiance, and she put them on a rod. She liked them. They were like bright pink, and I took a rod and fished one of the tournaments, and it's one of those things that you just got to put on your reel and use. But once you use them, you're going to want to put them on everything: spinning reels, bait casters, everything you got. I mean, it's just one of those really neat, cool products. A lot of the guys you see on the Elites are using them. You know, like Kevin Van Dam. That was actually the first time I did see him, was on Kevin Van Dam's rod. So anyway, that's a flipping jig. I want to show you a casting jig. And one of the neat things about going back east and fishing on the national level is I get to go to a lot of different parts of the country and see a lot of different baits. And one of the things that is predominantly successful on any tournament is a jig. And to see what kind of trailers and what kind of jigs guys are using back east and being able to take them out here, they work. And it's something a little bit different. And at the same time, I have stuff that I fish out here and I can bring back there that those fish haven't seen. This right here is a specialized jig. It's like a football head jig. It's a casting jig, but it stands up like that. It's got a flat head to it. And I've never seen a jig like this before. It's a custom jig that they got at Table Rock. It's primarily a spotted bass jig, but it'll work for largemouth. It doesn't really matter. And what I like to do to a jig like this is I like to put, usually when you're throwing a Senko or any plastic bait, you have a bunch of rubber. I don't like to throw in the water because it's not really good for the environment. So I usually throw them in a big bag. And I take all those baits and I break them into little pieces. Well, what I do is I like to put it on the shank of the hook, and what that does, it kind of keeps the bait flaring outwards, and it gives it a little bit of bulk to the bait. This little craw trailer that I'm going to show you, it is amazing. It's called a pocket craw. It's made by Net Bait. I haven't even seen them out here yet, but I'm sure you will real soon. So keep your eye out for them. You can probably buy them online. I think you might be able to get them at Bass Pro. I don't know. I'm going to try to get these guys over here to get them. So anyway, you got to check out the action on this thing. It really kicks. I mean, it is amazing. And you can kind of one of the ways that I like to fish spotted bass is I like to take one of these in like an ounce and just slowly roll it along the bottom, because those craws, I mean, they just keep kicking. Fortunately, from this view, I can't see too well because of the ripples on the water, but I'm sure you guys can kind of see the quick action. I like to throw a jig like this on a 7-foot medium heavy rod, light line, 10, 12-pound test, fluorocarbon. So I'm usually fishing a casting jig in minimum 12 feet of water, and that way you don't have the stretch that monofilament would have. I don't know how many of you are familiar with the different properties of line, but I'll just kind of go over it with you because it is kind of a key when you're fishing on different lures. There's monofilament and copolymer. I'm going to put those in the same class. Then you have your fluorocarbon and your braided line. Well, your monofilament and your copolymers, they're a porous line. So what it does is essentially when you cast out, if you're throwing like a Senko or a topwater bait, it'll float your bait. It's going to keep it more buoyant. Your line's going to lay on top of the water, and it's good for watching that line jump or working at topwater so it doesn't sink your bait. A fluorocarbon, if you throw like a walking bait such as a Zara Spook or a Sammy, fluorocarbon is going to sink your bait, and a lot of people go, oh, my bait's full of water. No, you're throwing it on fluorocarbon. Don't do that. You can go with braid. I find a lot of times with braid, you don't need to set the hook, so you're going to get a fast reaction. But if you go with just a monofilament with topwater, if you just keep that in mind, and then when you're going to flip shallow, and if you prefer monofilament to braid, anything between 10 foot and shallower, go with a monofilament or a copolymer. If you start fishing deeper than that, then stretch isn't so much of a factor because you can't really set the hook and break the line once you're about 10 feet or deeper. So then you're going to want that extra sensitivity you're going to get out of the fluorocarbon. A fluorocarbon is also invisible under the water. So again, I'll take just another cast of that. One of the ways I like to fish a jigs, I cast it out, and I do like to watch the line as it drops. If you see it just stop and go, that means something's picked it up. And you got to crank as fast as you can and rear into them. Get down to the bottom and really pop it up and let it go back down. Again, I got it on a 7-foot medium heavy Akuma guide select rod. It's pretty good action for it. This technique works especially well all year round at Lake Shasta, Oroville, any of the spotted bass fisheries. If you go to Clear Lake, you like to fish Clear Lake a lot, go to any steep rocky bank in June and you will absolutely wear them out on a jig like this. And I mean, you can go up there and catch 60 to 100 fish a day in June on a jig on the rocks. That's one of my favorite times to go up there. Okay, so we kind of covered the jigs here. Let's see. Another kind of go-to bait, and it's a great bait. I mean, this is probably one of the #1 tournament success baits there is. It's a Gary Yamamoto Senko. It's probably the best bait that's ever been manufactured. And it's kind of a do-nothing bait. You just cast it out there and let it sink and let the bait do all the work for you. Anyway, I just kind of cast it out there. And you can just see it falls horizontal, it shakes. I rig it Texas rig, which means the hook is buried into the worm. And just let it fall nice and natural. And you just kind of pull it up. It's one of those things, you just watch your line jump. This bait works everywhere you go. Every bass in the country will eat a Senko. It mimics a natural bait fish. If anybody has any questions at any time during the seminar, just raise your hand and I'll answer it. I can just kind of ramble on and on. So it's pretty cool to be up here. It's kind of like practicing for one of my tournaments next year. I can kind of Reminds me of Lake Amistad, which will be our first stop of the year. Clear water, you can see tons of bass. And you just kind of pop it up and down. These fish are not too active today. I think they got kind of an allergic reaction to something in the water. They kind of, you can see some stuff on their lips. But don't worry, these fish will be released back in the delta where they came from today, and they'll become healthy again. What's that? If you want, you can fish a Senko at any depth, really. I mean, you can throw it on a Carolina rig, which means, you know, you got the weight. You can throw it in like 20 to 30 feet of water on a Carolina rig. One of the ways that guys are catching them right now at like Lake Shasta and Oroville is they're sticking a nail weight in it, throwing it on a spinning rod, and wacky worming it. And that'll get you down. You can, unlike your technology these days with Lowrance electronics, you can actually watch the fish on your graph and shake that thing and watch it fall down on your graph and watch the fish come and touch it in 30, 40 feet of water. I mean, it's pretty impressive. But when it's rigged like this on a Texas rig, I usually fish it 10 feet or less. Actually, Lake Rayburn, the San Rayburn this year, I couldn't believe how shallow they were catching the bass in this. They were throwing it right in the bank in like that much water, and these fish would just come storming through. I don't know where they came from, and would just eat it. It was the most awesome thing I've ever seen. Okay, let's go to one of my favorite. This right here is an A bait, A pattern bait, meaning if you catch them on this kind of a thing, you're going to win the tournament or you're going to come close. So you're definitely fishing to win. This is a Swimbait. This right here is one of the newest of Reaction Strike. It's a Swimbait company. I like all Swimbait companies. Every Swimbait company there is has a particular bait for a particular situation. This particular one right here is going to be awesome. Not only fishing for you know, anything that any of the lakes that stop rainbow trout, looks like a rainbow trout, but when you're sight fishing on spawning bass, because what it has is it's got little deals. You can actually add trailer hooks on it. So you just put a little split ring and a little treble hook here, maybe another split ring and a little treble hook here, and you're gonna get a lot more fish landed that way. But anyway, a little bait like this is killer at spotted bass fisheries. A rainbow trout, in case you were wondering, is probably a bass's single favorite food. It's an easy food to catch for them. It's full of protein, and it's soft and easy to digest. So, and it makes bass grow huge. That's why California is known for having the giants. Anyway, I got this on a Nakuma Swimbait rod. I'll just show you how this thing swims. It's pretty awesome. You just kind of slowly reel it in. It just looks like a rainbow trout swimming right back to me. And a lot of these baits work at lakes where there aren't any rainbow trout, because it does mimic a fish swimming real natural. I like to make extremely long casts with something like this. And with the Nakuma rod like this, it's got an extra long handle, so you can take it and you can really just rear into it. And I mean, I could probably cast clear across this room, so with a rod like this. But yeah, Swimbait in that size is going to catch a fish just about anywhere you go. Another way to fish Swimbait like this, it's got a jig head in it, is you can actually get it, let it go all the way down to the bottom, and kind of pop it up and let it go back down to the bottom, work it like a jig. And this is actually one of the best ways to catch spotted bass, is work it along the bottom like you're working a jig. You're not going to get a lot of bites, but the ones you get are going to be the ones you want at the end of the day. And it just mimics a fish dying. But 90% of the time when I throw a Swimbait, I like to throw something that's hovering above the water, because when a bait fish does usually get injured, they kind of go to the surface. They kind of flutter towards the surface. And it's almost like they're gasping for their last breath of air. And so on a bait like that, I'm going to show you a new bait. It's a, let me get my pliers out here. They're sold over there. Yeah, someone, what's that? That right there is a Reaction Strike. Oh, and check this out. In about, I'd say about maybe 2 months, I got my own signature Swimbait coming out, and that's the one you guys are really going to want to get. That's the one that I caught him at Amistad with, and I'm just kind of waiting for after the first term of the year So I have a little bit of an edge against those elite guys. So maybe I'll win it this time instead of finishing second. Let me show you one of these hard baits. This is a black dog bait. It's called a shell cracker. They got them right over here at AC Pro Shop. This one is, let's see, there's two of them. There's a floating and a sinking. I'm not sure which one this is. Let me see. We'll just find out in the water. The floating one is the one you're going to want to fish at like the Delta and Clear Lake in the spring, summer, and fall. It's a topwater bait. And it's going to make a loud clacking sound, I'd imagine. So, I'm just going to leave the hooks on it, so if I get one, get the cameras ready. Oops. I don't know what I just did. I'm excited to throw this thing. Anyway, one of the knots I like to tie pretty much exclusively is a Palomar. Basically, you just take the line, you bend it in half, slide it through the eye. Grab it like that. Just do like a regular bow knot and take that loop and go right over the bait. The entire bait. This is probably one of the single strongest knots you can tie. Always get your line wet when you're cinching it down. A little bit of saliva. Always works. I'll just take my cutters real quick here. I normally try to use clippers. My dentist doesn't appreciate me using my teeth all the time. So. All right, get ready for this. This is going to be cool. This is the floating one. Just kind of puts a wake up on the surface. Another thing you can do with a topwater bait like this, you can just pop it and let it sit there. And bluegill's another one of the bass's favorite foods. Let me unclip this one real quick. It's got a little clip on it, and put on the sinking model. See if we can get down a little deeper. It'll be easier to see. Undo the snap here. Snap this on right here. You see that thing just swimming back. That is cool. Too bad this tank is so short. I like to bomb this thing out there a little bit. You can just kind of, you can see how deadly of an action that is. If this water temperature in here was in the 60s, it'd be game over on this bait. These fish would be real active. These are all individually hand carved and handmade. Pretty cool bait. Again, that's a Black Dog Bait Company bait. Let me see here. We got some more kids out here. We got a couple more hats I'd like to give out. Let's see here. We got 3 left. Who wants a hat? Uh-oh. I'm just going to go like this because I don't want to feel bad if somebody doesn't get one. These are little kid hats. They probably wouldn't fit you. I'm sorry. Oh. Cool. Does anybody have any questions? Let me see here. Yeah.
Back east, when you try to swim back,
Okay, you know, the cool thing about swim baits and the cool thing about back east, they don't throw them. I mean, they really don't. And the nice thing is I'll throw a swim bait in any color water, but I will go to really, really bright colors in dirty water. I'll throw a chartreuse swim bait. Or especially in March or April, bright pink, bubblegum. You know, you throw a bubblegum fluke a lot, you'll catch a lot of bass in the Delta. Well, same thing back east, you know, you can go and throw a bubblegum fluke. Well, if you throw a bubblegum swim bait, you're probably going to get those bigger females to come up and strike on it. So, yeah, I mean, but for the most part, yeah, if you get clear water, you're going to get more bites. You can stick with those natural looking swim baits, and those are the more predominant ones you're going to find on the market. I do particularly like, you know, when I'm fishing swim baits, overcast days, obviously. I mean, if you get an overcast day, low pressure, some wind, you'll rarely see me throwing anything else in a tournament situation. As long as I got the big bass over 4 pounds, you know. If I'm fishing for, you know, bass that are like 2 pounds and under, then yeah, I got to start doing these finesse baits and jigs and everything else. So, does anyone else have any questions? Or I think that pretty much wraps things up then, huh? I appreciate you guys' time and enjoy the show. So, thank you.